Hey, thanks so much for clicking the video, you rock, and I'm sure you're interested in our big mole friend here in the top right. So Anzrag, the Quake-Mole, he has a pretty crazy text box. Whenever the boy becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. Let's look at the body. Oh my goodness, it's an 8/4. So this is a good card. Obviously, how can we enable it? That's what I want to maybe help you or maybe show you some things in this video. Hopefully it inspires you a little bit. I have some cards to our left, the far left, that I think are really, really good with Anzrag as of now that are in standard. And of course I have Yarus here, the Roar of the Old Gods, as a very good new card. Of course his whole thing is sort of the face down stuff. I will read his box here. So Yarus, the Roar of the Old Gods. Other creatures you control have haste. Whenever one or more face-down creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And whenever a face-down creature you control dies, you return it back to the field face up if it's a permanent, which it will be. So that's pretty good. We're not necessarily going to lean into that, but that first text box with all your creatures getting haste is pretty dang important, because as soon as Anzrag hits the field, he can swing, and we can potentially threaten 8 damage to the dome or 2 combat phases, which is really, really good. So obviously some of the cards I've chosen sort of rely on the haste thing, which Felonious Rage, another good 1-drop from the set, really good. Target creature you control gets +2 attack and haste. Already good enough. And if that creature is to die, you create a 2/2 detective token. So even if he dies, right, which he only has 4 toughness, it's likely, he's still swinging for 10 with haste. Assuming you lay him on like turn 5 or you have some ramp, you can maybe lay him like turn 4, right? You just double spell, boom, bam. That is a terrible position for your opponent. So let's look at some of the cards I have for you today that I think are absolutely busted. So this card for 3 mana, if you kick it for 1 extra, can, instead of +3/+3, which is the normal effect, you can do +4/+4 and gain Trample and Haste, guys. First of all, that would be a total of 12 damage swinging with Trample, with Haste. On the first turn, it's there. Colossal Growth hasn't really seen any play at all, but this card, Anzrag, might just be enough to push this into playability. Let's look at Agatha next. Now, Anzrag does have an activated ability, right? This card can reduce the cost. Assuming we have other ways of the deck of increasing her power, well then we can just we can do the Anzrag thing, which, let me read it. It must be blocked each combat turn if able. So that can end the game, assuming you have any other creatures swinging, right? And they maybe like don't have too many defenses. Well, now they have to deal with this huge power guy swinging, right? And they have to block it, right? That could be pretty good. I don't think Agatha's going to be amazing or anything, but obviously even her ability works very synergistically with Anzrag. Being able to just pump your guys, give them Trample and Haste, that's exactly what Anzrag wants, so it could be good. We will have to see. Let me go back here. Sorry. Now this is a great card with Anzrag. A lot of people overlook this one. If you have an extra rare for this one, you eventually go to build this Gruul deck. Pretty good investment. Legendary creatures you control get +1, which Anzrag is, so he's going to be a 9-power creature, and indestructible until end of turn. You do have to sacrifice this guy, but here's the thing. Meanwhile, he's a 2-mana 3/3. Very playable, very good. Doesn't give haste or anything, but that indestructibility, keeping Anzrag alive, especially with only 4 toughness, can be huge. So I would imagine Hajar here, Hajar, is going to make a very big difference. Now, Ruby's a little bit of an overlooked card, but you can obviously ramp into your Anzrag earlier, which allows you to eventually start swinging if you don't have haste. And since it is a large creature with power 4 or greater, it'll buff up Ruby and make Ruby a 3/4, allowing her to swing, allowing that extra combat step to be just a little bit more potent if maybe she can get a clean swing in, right? But I just think the ramp and the haste here is really, really good, and it's a really cool creature. Little Red Riding Hood, right? Invigorating Hot Spring! So if you have 4 Anzrags in your deck, and you have this card, well, every time you lay an Anzrag for no extra mana, you can just remove a counter, put it on Anzrag. Now you have a 9/5, also buffing the toughness, which could be pretty relevant against a lot of the 4/4s in the meta, allowing you to win the game. yeah, that's a good card with Anzrag, man. I'm a huge fan of that. I've made a few decks with it already this season. Halana and Alena. Now, she has the ability of getting bigger, and then when she gets bigger, she can put even more counters onto another creature. Because at the beginning of combat on your turn, you put X counters on another target creature. That is her power. That creature gains haste until end of turn. So say you lay this the turn before Anzrag, then you lay Anzrag. You buff it up at least 2. Now it's at least a 10-6. And you're going to town. That's basically it. And you still have this amazing creature here continuously adding value. So I've always been a huge fan of Halana and Alena. Absolutely amazing magic card. And that haste is very relevant. And the last card I have for you to sort of think about is Lukka the Bound to Ruin. The boy here, his -4 notably, he can help you ramp, which is very important. But being that you've already probably laid him for either 4 or 5 mana, you know, you're already at the point where you can lay your Anzrags, but maybe you have a top end of the curve with your trumpeting Carnosaurs or whatever it may be. But that -4, Lukka deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or Planeswalker, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you activate the ability. So, this -4 at least can do 8 damage distributed how you want across permanents on the field, right? Across creatures and planeswalkers. That's going to take out most things. You can take out 2 4/4s. You can take out a bunch of 1/1s. All of a sudden, you have a pretty good planeswalker that complements Anzrag very good, that acts as a one-sided board wipe, and now Anzrag can swing in obviously very safely, and there's not going to be much to stop it. And if they do have anything to stop it, and they can't afford to take 8, well, if they block it, there's going to be a whole nother combat. So obviously Lukka works pretty good. Lukka's, I think, been waiting for the right deck to fit in, and I think we may finally have it here. Now, I didn't add too many cards to the list, guys, because there's just a lot of different ideas. One of the new cards from the set, I think that Frantic Scapegoat can be pretty nice, because Frantic Scapegoat can just be an early creature, maybe sacrifice fodder or something like that, but it could give your Anzrag Menace, which could be huge in a lot of situations. Obviously, Double Strike would be great. You could, maybe you have your goat, give your guy Menace, and then you give him Double Strike as well. That's pretty dang potent. Now, probably the worst thing about Anzrag is his 4 toughness, but that's to help balance him. But if you don't have creatures with 4 power able to trade with him, it's going to be a problem because you pretty much have to use a removal spell on him. So I think that Gruul is actually in an insanely good position as of right now to be one of the stronger decks if Anzrag does take off. Now, of course, the meta, it's such a wide meta, we have a lot to choose from. And because of that, you know, I'm not so as confident as I may have been in years past. But gosh, we got something good. We got some crazy cool build-arounds. This deck looks really fun to me, or this meta rather. Murders of Karlov Manor is going to be a lot of fun, guys. I am excited. I think the deck looks great. I think aesthetically it's really cool too. It's very creative. And I think they lean heavily into the theme, which is great. We want to see that. We want to see ambitious plays. And yeah, they stay true to that whole mystery clue board game context, right? Which I think is very nice. So much love to you guys. I hugely appreciate you clicking the video. Absolutely amazing. If you could give it a like, that'd be even cooler. And if you are interested in more deck techs and more magic related content and some general other content, maybe subscribe. Wait, did I do it? Yeah, okay. So cringe, dude. Bye guys, have a good one.